Dear students, and welcome back to our English class. Today we are going to be doing the last segment of the chapter Lost Beneath the Mountain. And let's, before we move on with the last part of it, let's quickly recap what we've done so far. So we know that so far it's the story of this 10-year-old boy who gets lost in this abandoned mine called the Hidden Treasure Mine in Utah. It's a place in the US. And we've seen that it's been almost 5 days now that the boy is lost, and there are different rescue operations which are in full swing trying to search for the boy, but no results so far. The boy is still unfound. And at the same time, we have this character called John Skinner. John Skinner is not really a part of the rescue team, but he is somebody who's been trying to be a part of the rescue team. He wants to really help to search for the boy. And the reason why he wants to help is because he says he knows the mine extremely well, the abandoned mine. Okay, and we had also looked at how this mine is not a very easy mine. It's a very complicated, very long, and even very dangerous mine. And not everyone that is involved in the rescue operation knows about the mine, knows about the different tunnels and the secret stopes that are there. They don't know it well. Okay, whereas John Skinner knows it extremely well because when he was a boy, when he was very young, his grandfather was the in charge. He was the mining superintendent of that particular place, that is Hidden Treasure Mine, and that is why he, as a boy, went there very often and he explored the mine. He explored 6 different levels of the mine. He knows the different hidden areas, so to say, of the mine. So that's the reason why he says, I know it so well, I can definitely help you to look for the boy a lot better because I have that extra knowledge. Okay, but we are told that he tries at least 4 different times, uh, but he has not been allowed inside the mine till the fourth attempt. The fourth attempt is the last attempt that he makes on the day that the authorities decide to close down the mine forever. Okay, so the boy gets lost on Friday evening, and we are told that that date is the 22nd of September 1989. Okay, and so it is on a Friday, and by the time the authorities decide to shut the mine, it is already Wednesday morning. Okay, so the only reason why Skinner goes up to the mine again, although he knows that he will not be allowed, is because he cannot sleep. He cannot sleep at night. He can't stop thinking about the fact that what if the boy is still alive? And if you're going to shut the mine forever, that means that boy will die because nobody goes for him, nobody goes to save him. But now, before shutting the mine, there is still a chance that the boy could be alive and he can still be saved. Okay, so he just doesn't accept the fact that people are shutting down the mine when there is a hope that the boy is still alive. Okay, so he tries. He's a very shy man, very quiet, very humble. He doesn't like to brag about himself, doesn't like to talk about himself. He's very introverted as a person. But there is something in him that is telling him, go into the mine and look for the boy. Okay, so he makes one final attempt, and this time, luckily for him, or you can say miraculously, the policeman there who was on duty trying to make sure that no people enter the mine, that policeman happened to be his childhood friend. So that policeman obviously lets him in, and that is when John Skinner goes and speaks to, uh, uh, we are told, Gary Christensen and Ray Guyman. These are 2 people. They were in charge of the rescue operation. So he speaks to them, and he tells them, have you checked in this place called the Resolute Stop? We had looked at it in the previous recording. So yeah, so we are told that they are, yeah, here, this part it is. So we are told that let's go and see whether we can still find the boy, and we are going to make one last effort. Okay, I'll take it from here. Okay, so we are told Ray Guyman, the leader of the UPNL team, was consulted. That is the main police officer. He consults Ray Guyman, and Ray Guyman says, "You know what you're talking about." Guyman said. The sheriff agreed to one last effort. So the sheriff, the police inspector, he says, one last chance, one last attempt we'll make. If we still don't find the boy, then we will proceed with shutting the mine forever. Okay. So Gaiman, that is Ray Gaiman, tossed Skinner a helmet and a headlamp, and he beckoned to his teammate Gary Christensen and said, "Let's go." Okay, so Gaiman, along with his teammate, that is Gary Christensen, and of course our that is John Skinner, they together decide to wear their helmet, wear a headlamp, and go into the mine for one last time. Okay, so beckoned by the way means called on to his teammate. He calls out to him, and that is how they move. Right? Let's continue. Gaiman showed Skinner the spot where Josh and his father had become separated. Okay, so Gaiman, he has been in and out of the mine for a very long time now, because for the last 5 days he must have been there in the mine trying to look for Josh. So he shows Skinner, John Skinner, exactly where the boy got lost. Okay. Then the trio began searching 3 areas that Skinner suggested, including the Resolute stop, without success. So Skinner had some guesses as to where the boy could have been lost. So he first takes uh, uh, Ray Gaiman and Gary Christensen to those areas. So they look there, but unfortunately, especially the Resolute stop, they look there, but Josh is not to be found there. When they stopped for a drink of water and to discuss their next move, Gaiman heard a noise. Now, I really want you to pay attention as to what happens from here. The situation is such that they have looked in the likely areas where the boy could have been lost, and the boy is still not found. Now they decided to take a rest and to just think about, okay, what to do next, where else to search for the boy. They can't look all through the mine again, because that will be a waste of time. There has to be certain areas that they need to look, so they have to think about it. Okay, and they're sitting down drinking water and discussing their next move, when suddenly Ray Gaiman heard a noise. Now, there's something more that I want to tell you about Ray Gaiman. If you read up about the entire story, because I told you this was in the news, it was national headlines, and many people have written so much about it, and they continue to write about it. There are websites talking about this story. So in one of the websites, I came across this very interesting detail. It said that Ray Gaiman actually was a person who was deaf in 1 year. And I want you to just imagine the situation. This man is deaf in 1 year, and here it is he that hears a noise. Okay, let's move on. It says here, the 3 men stood motionless, so they don't move. Okay, they know that if there is some noise, there is no animal or anything inside there. It is definitely another human being, and the other human being, or the 4th human being, obviously is Josh, which is proof that Josh is alive. And if the sound is coming nearby, that means Josh is somewhere around that place itself. So they just wait and they're trying to follow where is the sound coming from. So no noise. They just sit down there like statues. Then they heard a faint, muffled yell. So they heard a soft, like as if somebody had covered his mouth. That is what I mean by muffled. Like he's trying to scream, but something is obstructing that voice. So it's a yell. It is still a scream, but it is not very, it's not very loud. Okay, but loud enough so they can hear him. So they hear a cry. They hear a yell. Together they shouted, "Josh, Josh." Okay, so very instinctively, they just hear the sound. They know that it is Josh, so they scream back, "Josh, Josh." Working their way up to the stove, they stopped to holler the boy's name and listen. Skinner heard the cry again. So they go up to another stove. I told you what a stove is. It's that excavated area where they've removed the ore, and where the ore has been excavated, removed, and the hollowness that is left behind, that is the stope. Okay, so they go up to one of those stopes, and they stop to holler the boy's name. Holler is again to call out the boy's name. Again, they're calling out to Josh's name, and they listen. Skinner heard the cry again. Again, he can hear, it's a very soft, but it's clear enough. They can hear that somebody is asking for help, somebody is calling out to them. So I'll stay put so we don't lose the sound, Gaiman told the others. You fan out. So Ray Gaiman, he says, I'm going to stay put means I'll stay right where I am, so that I don't lose the sound. So they are marking the area. They know that somewhere in this area the boy is, somewhere in that particular radius the boy is. Okay, so where exactly they have to find out. So he says, you two, that is Skinner and Gary Christensen, you both fan out, you spread out, and you try and find Josh. Okay, that's, yeah. Then, so Skinner scrambled in one direction. So Skinner hurried in one direction, almost, very awkwardly, almost falling, almost, he manages to run in one direction, and Christensen in the other direction. So they go in two opposite directions. So Christensen could tell that he was drawing closer to the sound. So as he was moving closer, the cry that Josh was giving out was becoming a little louder. So he knew that he was coming closer to Josh. Then it seemed to be behind him. So he reached one place where he crossed that sound, and suddenly it is no longer that he can hear the sound from the front, but he can hear the sound from the back. Okay. So then it seemed to be behind him, and he backtracked. So he moved again a little bit at the back, and he is still trying to figure out where Josh really is. Suddenly, he spotted a tunnel hidden by boulders. Now, this is something they had never seen before. So there is a small tunnel, and the reason why you can't see it very clearly is because there is a big boulder which is trying to sort of hide it. It's a big rock which is right outside the tunnel. So he realized that the sound is coming from that place. Imagine such a, godforsaken place, sort of, like it's very difficult to find it, very easy to ignore that. Okay, so the sound was coming from there. So he is in there. Gary Christensen says Josh is in there. That is the place where he's actually stuck, of all places. Okay, Christensen shouted. Shouted, ringling into the passageway. So he starts ringling. Ringling is, it's like a worm. How a worm moves, like that. Christensen starts moving slowly into that small tunnel. He's trying to make his way, trying to get inside because he is a huge man. He's trying to get inside that small tunnel and try and get onto Josh. Okay. Then we are told, he says, keep on yelling, Josh. So, and again, it's dark. It's extremely dark, and the only thing they have is their sound. There is a lot of sound. Sound in the sense, Josh is screaming. So if he wants to find Josh, he needs to follow the sound because he can't see anything there. Okay, so Gaiman says, keep on yelling, Josh. So you keep screaming, I will follow the sound. Don't move. Okay. But Josh had been sitting still for too long. As Christensen shone the light up the steep passageway, he was met by a cascade of pebbles. Okay, so there's a very steep means it's going up. It could have been that thing that he was climbing up. So a steep sort of a passageway, it's a tunnel only. So he keeps going right up, and he was met by a cascade of pebbles. Cascade again is like a fountain of it. Pebbles keep falling like as if it's a fountain there. Okay. Moments later, a small shape slid towards him, feet first. I've got him, Christensen called out. Josh clung to Christensen's neck as the miner backed out of the tunnel. Okay, so we are told that this fellow Josh, he manages to move himself. He realizes that the light is coming closer and closer. So, and the light is from the head lamp that Christensen has. Okay, so he sees that, and Josh himself moves from his position, and he moves towards Christensen. And there is a point where he holds on to Christensen and he catches his neck, like how children sit. So he holds on to his neck, and Christensen drags him out of that tunnel and into the bigger tunnel that is there. Okay. So that is the best moment, because finally they realize that this boy is alive and that this boy is okay. He's finally safe. He's been rescued. Now we are told the rescuers, that is the three of them, Skinner, Ray Gaiman, and Christensen, these three of them were astonished. They were shocked at Josh's composure. Composure means how peaceful he was, because see, I told you, and I keep saying this again and again, he is only 10 years old. How much will that boy really know? Okay, but here we have that there is something which is very odd. He's not crying, he's not scared, he's not shaking as would have been the usual reaction. On top of that, he is, you can say he's rather calm. Yeah, he's rather calm, rather peaceful, rather composed. Okay, so that they're very, they didn't expect that sort of a reaction. Okay, they didn't expect that sort of peace. After being lost for 5 days without food, without water, after being so close to death, they were supposed to close the tunnel. The boy would have died inside. Okay, but here is the boy completely calm, completely composed. We are told he wasn't even crying, nor did he seem scared. He didn't even look like he was scared. Okay, the angels comforted me, he explained. I knew I would be found. Okay, so this is the reason why he's so calm, why he's so peaceful, because he says that angels were around him, comforting him. He was not alone, although it looked like he was alone. He says that angels were around him and trying to comfort him. Okay, and he knew deep inside him that God would not leave him there to be dead. He knew deep inside him that when he prayed to God that somebody will find him, he knew that he would be found. That was the level of faith he had, and that is why he was able to remain so calm. Okay, then we are told Skinner scrambled ahead to announce. Now Skinner is so excited, so excited. It's because, and in a way, it's because of him. They were giving up, right? Skinner fought through. He tried so many different times, and that last time it's because he came to the site that they allowed for one last search. And because they had that one last search, this boy was found and found alive. Imagine that. So Skinner is extremely excited. He runs out ahead to announce the good news to those outside. So all the people that are there outside, so many people, so many dogs, so many police officers, the family man, everyone. So he manages to, run and tell them, what, the boy is finally found. He says, we found him, he is alive. And pandemonium broke loose as rescuers tossed their hats into the air, yelling and whistling. Okay, pandemonium is almost like chaos, a lot of laughter, a lot of noise here, because people are celebrating. And I think this was the scene. This was exactly that moment where, yes, you can just this you can't see how many rescuers there, but you can just make out. Look at the dust here; all had gone in. Look at how dirty their caps are, and this is the scene. He just runs and he informs it to all of them. They take these caps and they fling it in the air, and they're just celebrating because this is a miracle. Okay, then we're told that yes, pandemonium, yeah, broke loose as rescuers tossed their hats into the air, yelling and whistling. They're just celebrating it. And finally, after 5 days, this boy has been found. Tears rolled down Sheriff Proctor's face. Now, if you remember Sheriff Proctor, he was a very determined sort of a man, very serious looking, very strict sort of a, police officer. But here we can see that this strong man, he melts down completely. There are tears rolling down his cheeks, and he says, "This is my greatest moment in 31 years of law enforcement." So in 31 years of being a policeman, nothing has been so beautiful, so profound, or so full of joy. This moment just is the best, because obviously he never expected that the boy would be found, and more importantly, he never expected that the boy would be alive. But here the boy is found and the boy is alive, and is found at a time when they were almost giving up. Okay, so minutes later at 2:45 p.m. on Wednesday, so this is afternoon, on Wednesday, September 27th, Gaiman and Christensen appeared with the boy. So this is the time he is found, in the afternoon, Wednesday, 27th of September. He gets lost on Friday, 22nd of September at around 7:30 p.m. Okay, so they carry the boy and they appeared there. So I think this picture would be of this man who's carrying him. It looks like this man could be either Ray Gaiman or Gary Christensen, one of them, because they have to carry him because the boy is very weak. They can't let him walk, so they carry him and they bring him out. So it could be one of them. Yeah, so we are told that it was over 100 hours after Josh's disappearance, so it had been more than 100 hours that the boy had been lost, but less than 30 minutes after Skinner entered the mine. So who is the real hero here? It is obviously John Skinner, because less than 30 minutes that he has entered the mine, this boy has been found alive. That means through that miracle, through that prayer that Josh has been praying, Oh, and everybody has been praying for Josh. God had willed that John Skinner, nobody else but John Skinner, would be entering the mine and would be instrumental in saving Josh. That is what it looks like, at least. Okay, so that is why after 30 minutes that Josh had entered the, not Josh, that is Skinner had entered the mine, Josh has been found. So we are told Josh was thin and pale with dark rings around his eyes. So he was very, lost a little bit of weight here because obviously 5 days without food and water. Pale, like as if he's got no blood. Again, it's pretty normal for the kind of situation he was in. And he was also very cold down there with dark rings, so like dark circles around his eyes because no proper sleep, and also all that fatigue, mental as well as physical fatigue, tiredness. So that is the situation, and that is the reason why that is his appearance. Okay, so and we are also told his feet were swollen from cold, the skin bulging from his torn sneakers. Okay, so his sneakers, his shoes were torn, and his feet were, for 5 days he had not removed his shoes. Also, his feet were swollen, and it's also swollen because of the cold, how cold it was, in the mine. Okay, and the skin was bulging. This is pretty, it's pretty painful if you just imagine it. Bulging again is part of the swollen part of it. Okay, so his feet were uh, like really swollen, and it was in a bad situation. His mouth was dry, his lips were covered with sores. Again, it's because of the cold and the fact that he has had no water whatsoever for 5 days. His lips are covered with sores. Again, very, very painful. And still, this boy is not crying, he's just very calm. Okay, so I'm a little thirsty, he whispered hoarsely. So when he comes out, the first thing he says, I'm a little thirsty. And if you look at it again, it sounds really, really cute because he says that he's only a little thirsty. Okay, for after 5 days, uh, if you are going to be drinking water, you're not a little thirsty anymore. Okay, but here he is just saying very politely that he's a little thirsty, he wants some water to drink. Now we are told, and he whispered hoarsely. He's just whispering it. Hoarse is rather roughly. Okay,